everyone, and welcome back to Quarantine History. But today, instead of history, I thought we would do a little bit of quarantine cooking. I'm a big fan of easy and tasty foods, and one of my favorite things to make, and it's easier than you would think, is a spanakopita. Spanakopita is a spinach pie. It's a Greek dish that we make with spinach and feta as the main ingredients and phyllo dough crust. So that's what we're going to make today. Don't be scared, it's very easy, you can make it very quickly, and it's delicious. Okay, let's get started. In order to make your easy and tasty spanakopita, you need a few key ingredients. And the first one is, of course, spinach. I have opted for frozen spinach. It's much easier than fresh spinach. There are about 2 pounds of frozen spinach here, which I'm going to heat up and defrost. The next thing you need is some crumbled feta cheese. This is about maybe half a pound of crumbled feta. We need some onions. I've got 2 small onions that I'm going to chop up. You can use a big one, whatever you'd like. Some garlic. I use maybe 1 or 2 cloves, depending on how big they are. I like to put in a leek. I chop this up very finely and put it in. Gives it a little bit of a sweeter taste. And about 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley, which give it a little extra flavor. Then of course we have the phyllo dough. Now, phyllo dough, you can make your own if you'd like, but if you want to make it easy, I get the ready-made, just pie crust, so just a non-sweet pie crust. These are rectangular in shape, but you can use the circular ones as well if you want. You can put them in like a springform pan. I'm going to be putting these in the Pyrex dish. It's a rectangular Pyrex dish, so you need 1 for the base and then 1 for the top. And of course we will need some salt, some fresh ground pepper, some olive oil, and I have this baking spray because I will spray the Pyrex dish with that in order so that the phyllo dough doesn't stick. And then on top of when we finish with the phyllo dough on top, we're going to brush it with an egg and sprinkle it then with some sesame seeds. So these are the ingredients that you need, and let's put it together now. So the first thing we're going to do is chop up our onion, garlic, and leek into small pieces. So while you're chopping up your leeks, onions, and garlic, you can preheat the oven to 350 Fahrenheit or about 170 Celsius. And you can defrost the spinach by just adding a little bit of water, putting it in a pot, heating it up a little bit until it's completely defrosted. We're going to strain that though afterwards to get all of the excess water out. Okay, so we've drained all the water out of the spinach and we are ready to start putting everything together. Okay, so I'm using the same pot that I used for the spinach. You don't even have to clean it. It's easy just to dump the spinach in the strainer, and then add about 4 tablespoons of olive oil. We let that heat up a little bit, and to that we're going to add our chopped onions, garlic, and leek. So now we saute the onions, garlic, and leek in those 4 tablespoons of olive oil for, I'd say, 5 to 7 minutes until the onion starts turning a little bit transparent. Now we're going to add the spinach that we have drained into the pot with the onions, garlic, and leek. This is going to give it a little bit of flavor. And we'll add the chopped parsley as well, so those 2-ish tablespoons of chopped parsley. And we'll continue sautéing just to give everything, to mix everything together and to give the spinach a bit of flavor, and also to get any residual moisture out of the spinach. So I've sautéed the spinach together with the onions, garlic, and leek for maybe just a minute or two. And I've taken it off the heat, and I'm going to add some fresh ground pepper, as much as you want really, and a bit of salt. This is off the heat now, yeah? A bit of salt, and we'll mix that up and then set it aside to cool just a little bit before we eventually add our crumbled feta. But if we added the feta now, it would kind of melt too much. So we're just going to leave it for 5-10 minutes to let it cool down a little bit. And we'll go put down our first layer of phyllo dough in the Pyrex dish. Now it's time to put the phyllo dough in the Pyrex dish. So the first thing we do is butter the dish. So butter the bottom and the sides. You can use butter or oil, whatever you want. You could also put down a piece of parchment paper if you want, but you don't have to. Then we unroll the first crust. So as I said, this one is rectangular in shape. Again, you can use pretty much any shape as long as it's not a sweet pie crust. And we just kind of drop it down into the Pyrex dish, removing the parchment paper from it. And just, it doesn't fit perfectly, so you kind of push in the sides as like this. And what we're going to do is bake just the bottom of the phyllo dough, just this bit here, for maybe 5 to 7 minutes. I'm going to prick it with a fork to put some holes in it. And I like to use glass Pyrex dishes instead of metal, so that I can see the bottom, when it's done. But first we cook the bottom bit, the bottom piece of phyllo dough, just to make sure that that it gets cooked well enough. And then we're going to add the spinach mixture with the feta, and then put the top on. So this goes into the oven after I've pricked some holes on it for about 5 or 7 minutes. Okay, so our phyllo dough base is ready to go in the oven, again for 5 or 7 minutes. We pop it in there and we just let it bake for a little bit, and then we'll put the filling in. So I've taken the phyllo dough base out of the oven, and it should look something like this. And now we can add the feta cheese to the spinach mixture. So we just dump that in there, like that. And we mix it up. So as I'm mixing the feta and spinach mixture, I always like to add maybe another tablespoon or 2 of olive oil, just to give it a little more flavor. And we mix that up all together. So it should look something like this. Okay. Now it's time to put the spinach and feta mixture into the, on top of the first layer of phyllo dough. So we dump that in there, like this, getting all of it out. All right, and then what I'm going to do is just kind of spread it evenly along the phyllo dough base. Don't worry if the phyllo dough is kind of puffy in places. This will knock it down a little bit. So you just kind of spread it around a bit. You can add more or less feta if you'd like. Some people like their spinach pies with more, some with less. Some people don't even put feta in. You can do different variations. These pies are great because you can really put whatever you'd like in there. I do pies sometimes just with leeks, with no spinach at all, just like leeks and onions. Okay, so we've got the base, we've got the filling, and now we take the second bit of phyllo dough or pie pastry and unroll it, and we're going to plop that right on top of the spinach mixture, just like this. And take off the parchment paper and what we have to do now is kind of tuck it in a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of like it to be a little bit abstract, actually. You just go like this, yeah. Okay, so there you have it, easy peasy. Okay, now the next thing we do is crack an egg, and we beat it just a little bit. And then I am going to take this brush and just brush the whole top with egg. And what this is going to do, it's for two reasons. One is to give the pita a nice shine once it cooks, but it's also going to anchor down the sesame seeds that we're going to put on top. If you're allergic to sesame seeds, or if you don't like sesame seeds, you don't have to put them on, but I would recommend putting the egg bit on top of the phyllo dough, just because it gives it that nice shine, and it makes it also more sort of aesthetically pleasing, but it also gives it a little bit of a nice taste. So you don't use the whole egg, actually. You just use as much as you need to cover the top there. The next thing we do is we take our sesame seeds, and you can spread them however many you want. I quite like sesame seeds, so I tend to put a lot on. And invariably some are going to fall off even with the egg there, so I kind of spread them all over the place here. You can use your fingers, actually it's faster. I'm all about ease and speed when I'm cooking. I like to cook, but it becomes a bit of a chore sometimes, so easy recipes that are tasty, definitely high on my list. Okay, so here we go, full of that. And this is something which is always a good idea to do as well, which is to score the pita. So what I do is I kind of separate it like this into more or less where I'm going to cut it after it has baked. So I go like this, and this aerates the whole thing and just then makes it easier to cut later once it's baked. Okay, so now our pita is ready to go in the oven. Keep in mind there are as many variations of Spanakopita as there are Greek islands. So there are many, many different ways of making them. This is just my own easy way to make it, and I think you'll find that it's quite tasty and it really takes almost no time to make. So we're going to pop this in the oven now for about, I'd say about 30 minutes, but just keep an eye on it and see, when it gets nice and golden brown on top and also on the bottom. Again, that's why I like to use a glass baking dish, just so I can pick it up, kind of look underneath it, look at the bottom, see if it's baked. Okay? So we're putting it in the oven. I have preheated the oven to 170 degrees, and we're going to keep it in there for about half an hour and then take it out and see what it looks like. All right, so now we're ready to take our Spanakopita out of the oven. I'm going to revise the time. This one took about 45 minutes, so between 30 and 45 minutes depending on your oven and how hot it is. But let's take it out. It should look nice and golden on the top, crispy, and the sesame seeds have stuck to the top. Let's have a look at the bottom. The bottom should look a bit browned, as you can see, like that. And we are ready. Our Spanakopita is ready. Thanks for joining for this quarantine cooking class. I hope everybody's Spanakopita turns out great and that you'll join me for another installment in the future. Until then, bon appetit, or as we say in Greek, kalli όρεξη.
Taste test. Time to try it. It looks so good. Okay. 3, 2, 1.